I was once forced to stay in a very smelly house. Actually, my options were very limited. I had landed in a new city, and the landlord was very eager to receive my money, gave us assurances that the smell would be dealt with very quickly, like yesterday. Okay, so since the other option was to sleep out in the cold, we had no option but to move into the house. And the problem was a sewer at the back of the house. It was not even in the compound, it was in the neighboring compound. Okay, and they assured us that they would deal with the problem. Of course, the next day it didn't happen. The smell was still there, and the third day. But then on the fifth and sixth day, something very strange happened. The smell vanished. Yeah. And we couldn't smell, it was a horrible sewage smell. It was not coming into the house, especially when we opened the windows. It was just not there. Then we got a visitor. And of course, the visitor is somebody who was very close to us, so they didn't mind annoying us. They just said, "Gosh, what's that smell?" Well, to cut a long story short, the human nose adjusts to bad smells. Yeah? If you live in a place which is stinking, just relax and be patient. After a few days, you will not be able to smell anything. Folks, this is a problem with Kenya. Okay? Kenya has been having a very bad smell. Sewage. Terrible smell. Okay? But over the years, some Kenyans have gotten used to the smell. Yeah? And whatever happens, whatever you say, they just say, no, that's nothing much. And unfortunately, this includes some very influential Kenyans. Even Supreme Court judges, yeah, they can no longer smell it. Yeah. Now, if I can go back to the example I gave you of this house I used to stay in, yeah, and actually I lived there for over a year. Yeah. Anyway, going back to that story, this did not happen, but this is what's happened to Kenya now. Yeah. What has happened is that people have gone to the neighbors and they've taken all that dirty sewage and they've thrown it right inside the house. Okay. Now, as a result of this bold action, what has happened is that some members of the family can smell it, others still can't smell anything. They have completely refused to see the obvious. They have completely refused to smell. Now, things are happening in our country so fast. Events are unfolding so rapidly that it's difficult to keep up with them. Even me in my program right now, when I'm about to make a recording, I get confused. What do I comment on? What do I not comment on? What do I comment on first? There is so much happening. Yeah. So in this recording, I'll just try to summarize it. Okay. There's so many things which have happened. I'll just try and cluster them all together. Yeah. So that we see what they mean. Yeah. Things that mean the same, I'll just cluster them all together. Okay. Now let us start with the dramatic encounter between Esther Passaris and a very arrogant brown man. She even gave the name. Yeah. Whom she was clearly told was involved with the horrendous, brutal murder of Chris Msando. Now, the Msando murder reminds me of another brutal murder of a Kenyan son that happened some years back. When Mboya was shot on the streets of Nairobi on July 1st, 1969, okay, incidentally, we have now gotten an eyewitness report that came out about a year ago of people who were actually there. Yeah, and they confirmed that there were two gunmen on the scene, and one of the gunmen was actually somebody called Ben Gedhi. Yeah, Ben Gedhi, of course, was working for the GSU government, and the person who was pinned for the murder, or who was accused of the murder, had an uncanny resemblance to Ben Gedhi. Yeah, they really resembled each other. Anyway, some very interesting and horrible things have happened after that murder. Yeah, number one, the government sent out over 1,000 policemen to go and look for Mboya's killer. Yep. Now that is funny, but it is also not funny. It's funny in the sense that the government are the ones who actually murdered this great founding father of the nation. Yeah. But here they were, the president at that time, Jomo Kenyatta, sending out 1,000 policemen to look for the killers of this guy. Wow. Something else, privileged information from the late widow of Mboya. The day after Mboya was so brutally killed, either the day after or on that very evening. Yeah, Ben Gedhi went out to a party with other members of the Kiambu Mafia, and they were celebrating and having drinks and eating and making merry. What were they celebrating? They were celebrating the killing of Mboya. Yep, that's Kenya for you. Fast forward to 2017, okay? After the killing, very brutal murder of Chris Msando, yeah, we get very interesting reports, yeah, which seem to be all designed to send Kenyans in the wrong direction, okay? I'll just give you one. There's a report which appeared in the daily press that the killers of Msando had been arrested by the Ugandan police trying to escape to South Sudan. This country is just funny. Well, a day after this report had already been published and people had already read it and consumed its contents, the government, or rather the police, came back and said, oh, sorry, it was a mix-up. What kind of mix-up would that be? Okay. Now, of course, common sense dictates that that story was a very, very, very. It was a maid's tale, yeah, a long story, which is false, obviously, very false, yeah. Anyway, my point is, you can see the arrogance, okay, and let alone that, the chain of events that followed the murder of Chris Msando speak volumes. The careless, arrogant rigging of the elections on August 8th. Yeah, and then when the matter went into the Supreme Court, the careless, arrogant defense of the defense lawyers, yeah, go back and review those videos. Yeah, they were saying, oh, NASA doesn't have any evidence. This is all. What they were saying in short is that all this is rubbish, rubbish. Clear evidence that there was some rigging, clear evidence of massive fraud. They were just replying rubbish, rubbish, rubbish. Well, the gallant Supreme Court judges gave their verdict, and they confirmed what NASA lawyers were saying was not rubbish. And the arrogant attitude continues. Now, we have had overwhelming evidence that Jubilee are actually buying ID cards in NASA strongholds, okay, ahead of the elections. Now, we know without an ID you can't vote, and we also, you may not know this, but I'll tell you, with your ID number, powerful state agents can vote on your behalf, yes, and so that if this thing is scrutinized later by a Supreme Court, they will find those votes are genuine. So some youths in Kisumu say, no, enough is enough, we won't accept this, yeah. So they cause chaos. They go up to the hotel where the buying of the ID cards is actually going on, and they just put their foot down. Now, what reports do we get in the media? Or this some NGO empowering women to vote, blah, 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 blah. What? Empowerment of people to vote? But we've just voted. The elections are virtually over. We're just going for the rerun. Which NGO on earth, which financier, yeah, would finance such a project at this time in the election cycle? These are things you do in the run-up to an election, in the run-up to voter registration. What? And the usual arrogance continues. Oh, Kisumu people, they're always throwing stones. Oh, these youths are always rowdy. And we know Kisumu how they behave, childish behavior, blah, 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 blah. Oh boy. Oh boy. What is happening in our country? Now, unfortunately, I see I've already run out of my time, but no worries. You know the usual drill. Just click on the link on the top left-hand corner and you should get to part 2 of this recording. For the explosive revelation. Don't miss it. This is Chris Kumekucha. See you there in a bit.